Clare FM's In the Garden with Clonroad Garden Centre, Clonroad Business Park in the heart of Ennis. Whether you're a seasoned gardener or just starting out, our friendly staff are here to help your garden grow. Open 7 days a week, Monday to Sunday.
And joining me for In the Garden as ever is Judy Beck from Clonroad Garden Centre. Judy, good morning to you.
Good morning, Alan. What a gorgeous day.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Great morning. Because it's not too often we get to say it. And when there is great weather, have to insert the word gardening in there. Great gardening weather, I'm sure. Extremely busy down at the Clonroad Garden Centre. Loads coming in. You're having to beat them off with a stick or maybe a garden hoe, whatever it might be.
Well, I just came from there. Actually, was in this morning early and the place is buzzing. Everybody's smiling, happy, delighted to get into the gardens. And lots of customers, I'm happy to say.
No wonder Judy's grinning like a Cheshire cat. And she's in a good mood and has a €25 voucher for Clonroad Garden Centre to give away to one lucky listener. So get your gardening questions in if you want to be in with a chance of getting that. And even if you don't, you'll get some sound advice from Judy. 086 1800 964 with your gardening questions. But this week's topic comes first, Judy, and it is one that certainly I'm very mindful of in my own garden, because I feel at times like I have more than my fair share of slugs and snails. The odd one even get into the house, which really I despair of. So you're going to talk about common garden pests and identification, starting with slugs and snails. And I guess, why did you pick this topic? Is it one that just these are the bane of every gardener's life? Every
gardener. And probably we get so many questions in the garden centre about garden pests of all kinds and descriptions. So it's probably one that concerns every gardener in the country. And probably not the nicest of topics, but one that more knowledge is a great thing. And I suppose before I even start, I should say that all garden pests only considered a pest once they become a problem. Of course, they're all part of the biodiversity. Every garden has a mix of pests and things that eat those pests. So we have to keep that in mind, that they are all part of nature, even if they can be a challenge at times.
Yeah, very true, and good to highlight that. And I suppose, not so long ago you spoke about, creating your own pond, and that's where not pests, but some of the creatures and insects that live in gardens are a positive, because they bring a lot of joy. And I know you spoke about the joy of sitting there with your pond and viewing the different insects and things that avail of it. But slugs and snails, nah, we're not having them.
Well, yeah, and they can do an awful lot of damage. And if you don't keep an eye on the garden, you can come out and you can see certain things devoured overnight. So what can we do about them? Well, there are, of course, some controls such as slug pellets, which are a poison really for slugs, and the only ones we would sell now would be the organic ones, which are less environmentally they're less unfriendly, I should say. Basically what happens is the slug or snail would eat them, go underground and die underground after eating them. So in that case the birds don't come and then get poisoned because the slugs are underground. But other things, if you don't want to use slug pellets, you can, of course, remove them by hand.
No thanks. Put on the gloves at first, though.
Put on the gloves. But the best time to do that is at night time, because they hate the sunshine. They hate hot, dry weather. So it's at night when the dew is down, when it's damp, is mostly when they come out. During the day, if you have pots and you see some damage from slugs, if you look under the pot, you'll nearly always find little slugs hiding underneath the pot, and that's the easiest way to find them. Another way to collect them is putting wet newspaper on the ground, and you will find they go in and hide under the wet newspaper, and it's a great way to get a lot at once. Another one, and one that some people just laugh at and don't think it works, but it really does work, is beer traps. So if you have any leftover beer in your house, what I recommend is...
I was just thinking the beer traps, you'll catch a few slugs and a few men under there as well.
Well, at least they're going to die happy, because what you do is you put the beer into a jam jar, half fill it, and put the jam jar into the ground, like halfway down. The slugs will crawl in because they're really attracted to that smell of alcohol. They go into the beer and they can't get back out again. And you'd be amazed by how many slugs you'll catch in a jam jar of beer.
I'm just feel at the risk of asking a silly question, but I'm going to ask it anyway because I am silly. Does it matter what type of beer it is, or we live in the era of the craft ales? A few of those,
well,
5% and up, or are they more effective?
I don't know if the 0.0 beer works. I'm not sure if Guinness or Heineken or.
They have a slug of it. Pardon the pun, and you'll find out. Okay, so beer traps work. What else works?
Well, one thing I find great is, again, with pots. Say you have a lovely hosta. Now, slugs love hostas. It's like caviar for slugs. So if you put hostas, and hostas are a beautiful green leafy plant, but a lot of people don't grow them because the slugs do love them so much. But if you put them into a pot and you put nice decorative stone around the base of the plant, on the top of the pot, you'll find very few slugs will go after them because they hate crawling across stones. Slugs do. So that's a really good tip for plants in pots, is decorative stone around the edge of them. There's also a thing called copper tape, because slugs won't cross copper tape. So if you put the ring of copper tape, which you can buy in garden centres around especially Clonroad Garden Centre, I should say, around the top of the pot, and the slug won't cross the copper tape to get into your pots of plants. And I would remember, of course, just to encourage wildlife. So if you do have a pond, frogs help with slug control. They'll eat the small slugs. Hedgehogs love slugs. Ducks, if you have a garden with ducks, they eat slugs. And for birds, song thrushes, they love snails. So encouraging birds and wildlife into your garden really helps as well with natural slug control. Okay,
and so that's the slugs and snails, but of course they're not the only irritants, shall we call them, or pests. Green fly and black fly as well.
Yeah, green fly, black fly and white fly, they're aphids, and they are also a huge problem for doing damage to your plants. They cause the leaves to curl up, they go yellow, you get stunted growth. You see them an awful lot on roses. They just love roses, that fresh new growth, and they multiply so quickly. So you can get chemical control for spraying them if you want to go something a bit more organic. And I did go to the Organic College in Drumcollar in Limerick for a couple of years. So I really like the organic way of doing things. So and remember, once upon a time, before we had all these chemicals, everything was done organically. And a lot of organic farms do manage to control these pests without using chemicals. So it is possible. It just needs to a little bit, maybe not always as easy as just throwing a chemical on. But one organic way of doing it is you can make your own garlic spray. So you crush garlic, put it into water, leave it overnight, and then you water it down, dilute that, and spray it on to your roses or any other plant that has the aphids. And to make it stick, you can add a little bit of washing up liquid, and that will help it to stick onto the plants. Just because remember, when you're spraying like chemicals onto your roses, you're not just killing the green fly and black fly, you're also killing the ladybirds that eat
and
those.
You definitely don't want that.
And you definitely don't want that, because the chemical doesn't know what's a ladybird and what's a green fly. It'll just kill everything. And the ladybirds actually eat green fly. So sometimes you're doing more damage than good if you go crazy with chemicals, because you're not just killing the nasties, you're also
getting rid of one of the potential solutions as well at the same time.
Exactly.
Okay, so be careful of that, but also be wary of vine weevils. Even their name, the name doesn't suggest anything good.
So the vine weevil adult looks a bit like a beetle, and they eat on the leaves in the spring and summer. Now, they don't generally they're not fatal for plants, but what they do is they lay these eggs, and which turn into grubs, and the grubs survive on eating the roots of your plant. So you think the plant is doing great, and you look at it, and then one day it's just dead. And you're like, how did that just die overnight almost? And when you go to pull the plant up, you'll see it has no roots left. They literally eat the roots. So for controlling that, well, if you can get rid of the adults when you see them so they can't lay the eggs, that's one of the best ways. But if you're too late and you notice that you have a problem with vine weevils, there is a chemical control that you can use on pots. You can't use it in the ground. But in the ground, they have plenty of predators. So it's generally not as big an issue. The biggest issue is generally in pots. There is a biological control. You can buy a nematode, which is a natural predator. And you mix that with water and you water it into the plants. But the ground has to be the right temperature, and they only have a certain life because it's a natural thing. So they have to be ordered online and used immediately, but it's very effective and it really does work. But they do attack particular plants. They love strawberries, for example, unfortunately.
Okay. Now, the next one, on the face of it, you'd think as less of a pest, Judy, but perhaps my perception is wrong, which is caterpillars. You kind of think, they're a bit cute, they turn into butterflies, but no, they can be a bit of a pest.
You see, and most people would never kill a butterfly, but when they see but they wouldn't. It takes a hard heart to kill a butterfly, doesn't it?
It does.
But of course, butterflies come from a caterpillar, and those caterpillars eat plants in order to grow into
so
a butterfly.
Fuzzy and fluffy looking.
I know. So if you are going to get rid of caterpillars, hand picking them off is very effective. But there's other ways. You can use flour. So you can mix flour with water and put that onto them, and that creates a white glue, and that causes them to fall off. Sour milk. You can drench them in sour milk. That'll kill the eggs. Probably my favourite way would be to use netting. So you put netting, for example, the cabbage white butterfly the caterpillars can decimate your cabbage. So if you cover your cabbage with netting, and it stops the white butterfly from laying its eggs on your cabbage. So if you do that as soon as you plant your cabbage plants outside, that's rather than having to go to, it can be expensive and it's very hard to get all of them. But if you do a prevention from the beginning, of course, hedgehogs again, they also help with caterpillars, and birds. Birds eat caterpillars. So again, all about trying to get as much biodiversity into the garden as you can. Okay,
what one or two other common garden pests should people watch out for?
I suppose, we could be here all day. There's so many, but we'll just go through one or two more. The carrot fly that lays its eggs on your carrots, and they create big holes in your carrots. Also does it to parsnips and celery. And there's a particular mesh netting you can use for the carrot fly as well. Or else grow your carrots on a raised bed, because carrot fly can't fly very high. So if your bed is higher, a foot or a foot and a half high, then the carrot fly won't reach it. Leather jackets. Leather jackets are normally found if you turn a field, say, into a vegetable garden, you'll find you get a lot of leather jackets. It's usually a big problem in the first year. The leather jackets are the larvae of daddy longlegs. But the second year and afterwards, it's usually not such a big problem. And the last one we'll mention today is scale insects. We get a lot of questions about scale insects on indoor plants. They're like a hard, sticky insect, very hard to get off your indoor plants. But one tip is to use a little paintbrush and paint over them with methylated spirits or whiskey. Is a really good way to kill off your scale insects.
I can well imagine how that would work. Right. Watch out for all of those. And of course, as Judy alluded to, many more pests that can be in your garden that you should be mindful of as a gardener. It is 086 1800 964 if you have any gardening questions for Judy. Remember, there's a €25 voucher for Clonroad Garden Centre to be won by one lucky listener. But before we get to that, and there's no excuses if you don't do any of this, because we can see out the window here, myself and Judy. We know the weather is great for gardening. So some jobs for the week, Judy.
Yeah, and so we're getting a lot of people asking about getting their hanging baskets and window boxes, and the summer bedding, good news, is beginning to come into the garden centres. So would be a good time now to get out your hanging baskets and window boxes out of the shed, make sure they're cleaned and empty and ready to be planted up. And on hanging baskets, very important, check your chains, that they're not gone rusty, or that there's no risk of the weight of the hanging basket breaking the chain and hitting someone on the head. So you can get chain replacements if you need to do so, or just brand new hanging baskets. Now for a good time to treat the moss in your lawn. So as the soil heats up, you can get particular treatments for your moss, and also good time now to reseed any bare patches on your lawn. So you might need to get some lawn seed into stock. And for people who haven't sown their potatoes, your main crops such as Cur's Pink, Golden Wonder and Cara, last chance to get them in the ground. Last chance because they're not going to be available shortly. We're almost sold out, and you really, now at the end of April, would be a good time to sow those.
Okay, so some jobs for the week there, and myself and Judy are not accepting any "the dog ate my homework" or "the dog ate my gardening gloves" excuses as to why you didn't get these jobs done, because the weather is playing ball for once.
Yes.
So make the most of it. Right, 086 1800 964 with your gardening questions. Who is going to win that €25 voucher for the Clonroad Garden Centre? We will find out in due course, but let's get stuck into it. And first up, Judy, is a question from Mary, who says, "Good morning, Judy and Alan. Can you expect different pests in different gardens?" Which is an interesting question, Judy. I guess that touches on, I suppose, you know, I presumably there are pests who will be in any and every garden, but there will be pests, certain flowers or certain foliage will attract certain pests, I guess.
They do, and also, of course, it depends as well whether you're in the city or the country, maybe, because some people have a big problem with rabbits eating their plants. Or deer is another one. We have some customers who ask about what plants they could grow that the deer won't eat, and you won't have such a problem generally in the city with those. Though maybe in the city, or in the town I should say, rather than the city, in the town you would maybe have more problem with cats coming into the garden, so that you might not have so much in the country, you know, if there's a lot of cats in your estate or that, and that can be a nuisance. So just to remind everyone really to wear gardening gloves when they're out there, because you don't know what you might come across. Just general garden hygiene. But most people, nearly everybody will have a problem with slugs. Nearly everyone will have aphids in their garden. And as we mentioned before, if you just turned your field, for example, into a vegetable garden, or you're in a new built house, you might have a lot more problem with leather jackets. They tend to be... In your first year of gardening, you'll find a lot of leather jackets. But the common garden pests are often found in all gardens.
Okay, thanks for your question, Mary, and hopefully that helps. Next up is Sammy, and Sammy, Judy is on the hunt, but not quite sure what he's on the hunt for. He says, "Hi Judy, I need help." This sounds like Arnold Schwarzenegger, the Terminator.
In the right show here.
Oh yeah, he says, "I can't identify what to kill." The bloodlust is high in Sammy, and I can't blame him, because he says, "I never see them, but they eat my strawberries. What am I dealing with here?"
Well, slugs love strawberries. And the old way that used to use strawberries are called strawberries because they used to put straw underneath the berries to protect them. And that's what the name
Every day is a school day, folks. There you go. Didn't know that.
Yeah, so raising your strawberries up off the ground is good, because if they're lying on the ground, they do tend to get more eaten by slugs. So hanging baskets are really good for strawberry plants, window boxes, and of course you can plant them in the ground, and plenty of people do, but you need to kind of try and raise them up, and straw is one way of doing that.
Okay, there you go, Sammy.
That's the most likely thing, eating them anyway.
Keep on the hunt and let us know what your kill count is by next Monday. 086 1800 964. Right, more gardening questions. One here from Jerry in Lockville, Nennis. How are you, Jerry? He says, "Hi Judy and Alan. What has happened to the old-fashioned kitchen garden flowers, i.e. wallflowers, Sweet William, Canterbury bells, hollyhock, all biennial plants? Are they being grown anymore? A lot of hard work with them though, planting, thinning and replanting. I don't see them anymore. It's a pity, as the scent is beautiful. Thank you." So not so much a question as just something Jerry has noticed. I don't know, is that something you've noticed yourself, Judy?
Not at all, actually, because of the four he mentioned, we actually have three of them in stock at the moment. We have hollyhocks, we have wallflowers and Sweet William. So
basically, Jerry, you need to get down to Clonroad Garden Centre, and you'll see them you'll see them then.
And the Canterbury bells, I think we have it in seed. We don't have it; doesn't come in so much in plants, but you can grow it from seed. But yeah, sure, come down and see me, because we do have he calls them, I think, kitchen garden. We call them more cottage garden plants. Okay. And we have lots of cottage garden plants in stock.
There you go. Clonroad Garden Centre, the place to go. Linda in Ennistimon, hoping she'll be going there with a €25 voucher in her pocket. She says, "Good morning. I'm just wondering what's the best way to grow sunflowers. I struggle every year. What are the best seeds, perhaps?"
So you get, there's actually a great variety of sunflowers, and if she's in a really windy area, maybe the tall stems aren't suiting her and she could grow the short ones, because they do come in a variety of heights, everything from about 2 foot up to 7 or 8 foot high sunflowers. They are absolutely gorgeous. They're not terribly difficult to. I just wonder why she's having such a problem growing them from seed. If she starts them now in little pots and puts them in her kitchen windowsill, and then she can plant them out at a later stage. Maybe she's planting them out too early because they don't like the cold. So a good idea to keep them, maybe sow them in pots, keep them in your kitchen windowsill, mine them for 6 weeks or so, and then plant them out. If all else fails, you can actually buy them as plants. We'll have them for sale in 3 or 4 weeks' time, and save yourself the bother.
Okay.
Go the easy route.
Yeah, we all like the easy route, don't we? And time for one more question, and it is from dedicated gardener Kay Curfin. You never have to encourage her to go out because the weather's lovely. She'll be out there anyway. Good morning to you, Kay. And she says, good morning, Alan and Judy. Kay's question, Judy, is now that her apple trees are starting to bud, can she put a good nutrient around the base, and what do you recommend? And she also wants to know whether you have tomato plants in stock.
Hi Kate, we have lovely tomato plants in stock. We have the cherry tomatoes, regular tomatoes, beefsteak tomatoes, lots of different varieties of tomato plants. And for feeding your apple tree, I would either recommend sulphate of potash or fish blood and bone. And you can get them both at Clonroad Garden Centre, and we'll look forward to seeing you, Kay.
There you go. And it won't be just Kay. You'll be seeing Judy. You'll also be seeing Jerry in Lockville in Ennis, because Jerry, you said you weren't seeing wallflower, sweet williams, Canterbury Wells, hollyhock anymore. Well, you're going to see a lot more of them now, because you are the winner of the €25 voucher. So get yourself down there to Clonroad Garden Centre. As we've heard, many of those are in stock. Those kind of, as you call them, kitchen garden flowers or cottage flowers. So stock up on them. Well done to you, Jerry. And thanks to everybody else for getting in touch with your questions. And biggest thanks to Judy Beck from the Clonroad Garden Centre for answering all those questions. Great advice as ever, Judy. So thanks very much.
Thank you, and see you next week.
See you next week, and hopefully it's a sunny next week as well.